the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, which encompasses the boroughs of Manhattan and the Bronx in New York City, along with Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Rockland, Sullivan, and Westchester counties. The office prosecutes cases involving violations of federal laws, and represents the interests of the United States government and its agencies in criminal and civil matters. The office investigates and prosecutes a broad array of criminal conduct of every conceivable magnitude, even when the conduct arises in distant places. Today, the office is at the forefront of many important areas of criminal law enforcement, including terrorism, white-collar and cybercrime, mortgage fraud, public corruption, gang violence, organized crime, international narcotics trafficking and civil rights violations. Similarly, the office litigates among the most complex and significant civil cases the Department of Justice handles, from large affirmative civil fraud cases to cases in the environmental, healthcare, immigration, and bankruptcy areas, as well as cases implicating classified information.
June 5, 2024. Pharmacy owner and physician charged with illegally diverting oxycodone for cash. Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Frank A. Tarantino III, the Special Agent in charge of the New York Division of the Drug Enforcement Administration. DEA, Naomi Grushach, the Special Agent in charge of the New York Regional Office of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Office of Inspector General, HHSOIG. James Smith, the Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and Thomas Fatarusso, the Special Agent in charge of the New York Field Office of the Internal Revenue Service. Criminal Investigation, IRSCI. Announced today the unsealing of complaints charging Feroz Nazir Bege, a pharmacy owner, and Mordecai Barr, a physician, with illegally diverting oxycodone and other controlled substances. Both Nazir Bege and Barr were arrested today and will be presented tomorrow in White Plains Federal Court. As alleged in the two complaints filed on May 30, 2024, in White Plains Federal Court and unsealed today. Oxycodone, a Schedule II narcotic, is a highly addictive opioid analgesic that is used to treat severe and chronic pain conditions, such as post-operative pain, severe back and orthopedic injuries, as well as pain associated with certain forms of cancer and other terminal illnesses. Oxycodone prescriptions are in high demand and have significant cash value to drug dealers. The street value of oxycodone depends on the number of milligrams of oxycodone in each tablet, and in and around the New York City area. Each milligram of oxycodone roughly translates to around $1 in street value. Nazir Bege is associated with multiple pharmacies in and around New York City, including FNN Pharmacy, of which he is the president, and QV Pharmacy, where he has been observed working and directing customers from at least about December 2022 up to the date of the complaint. Nazir Bege has conspired with others to dispense or distribute oxycodone and other controlled substances, in violation of the law, in exchange for cash. In addition to filling prescriptions that he knew were not issued for a legitimate medical purpose by a practitioner acting within the usual course of professional practice, Nazir Bege also repeatedly sold controlled substances to a customer without a prescription in what is commonly referred to as a backdoor sale. During one of those sales, Nazir Bege gave that customer a handwritten menu of various prescription drugs and their per pill cost for future backdoor sales. Barr is a physician whose practice is located in New Rochelle, New York. From at least in or about January 2023 up to the date of the complaint, Barr conspired with others to provide prescriptions not issued for a legitimate medical purpose for oxycodone, amphetamine, and alprazolam to patients in exchange for cash payments. Barr issued those prescriptions without conducting medical examinations of the patients and, in many cases, without even speaking to or meeting with the patients. Nazir Bege, 50, of Belrose, New York, is charged with one count of conspiring to illegally dispense or distribute oxycodone and other controlled substances, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, and 11 counts of dispensing or distributing oxycodone and other controlled substances, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Barr, 71, of Larchmont, New York, is charged with one count of conspiring to illegally dispense or distribute oxycodone and other controlled substances, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, and 12 counts of dispensing or distributing oxycodone and other controlled substances, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. The maximum potential penalties are prescribed by Congress and are provided here for informational purposes only, as any sentencing of the defendants will be determined by the judge. June 4, 2024. 2 men sentenced to 185 and 220 months in prison for murder of rival drug dealer in 2002. Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, announced today that Terrace Oliver, A/K/A Bird, and Ricardo Ayala, A/K/A Ritchie, were sentenced to 185 and 220 months in prison, respectively, for their roles in the March 27, 2002, shooting death of 19-year-old Atari Felton. Oliver and Ayala were participants in a drug conspiracy, members of which shot and killed Felton after a feud broke out between their group and Felton's own drug business. Oliver was sentenced this afternoon, and Ayala was sentenced on May 6, 2024, both by U.S. District Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein after pleading guilty to conspiring to distribute controlled substances. During their pleas, they admitted to participating in the Felton murder. According to the allegations in the indictment and information and statements made in public court proceedings, Oliver and Ayala were members of a drug crew that conducted open-air drug sales around 240 East 175th Street in the Bronx, near Monroe Avenue. The group had planned to merge operations with Felton, but when that failed, Felton attempted to shoot at members of Oliver's and Ayala's group. Later that night, Oliver, Ayala, and several other men traveled to the area of 1665 Topping Avenue where at least 4 men, including Oliver, fired shots at Felton as Felton exited a corner store. 1 bullet struck Felton in the back, causing lethal injuries. Following the murder, both Oliver and Ayala incurred arrests and periods of incarceration on state charges of, among other things, gun possession, to which Oliver pled guilty in 2006, and continued drug distribution, to which Ayala pled guilty in 2004. Oliver, 42, of Bridgewater, Massachusetts, and Ayala, 43, of the Bronx, New York, previously pled guilty to conspiring to distribute crack cocaine, heroin, and marijuana, and both admitted to participating in the Felton murder. In addition to the prison term, Oliver and Ayala were sentenced to 3 years of supervised release.
Equality before the law, also known as equality under the law. Equality in the eyes of the law, legal equality, or legal egalitarianism, is the principle that all people must be equally protected by the law. The rule of law is a political ideal that all citizens and institutions within a country, state, or community are accountable to the same laws, including lawmakers and leaders. It is sometimes stated simply as no one is above the law.